What's going on, guys? It is Panjano here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys the Apex Legends Season 6 Ultimate FPS Increase Guide. The Season 6 optimization guide in which you're about to watch has been heavily optimized for Season 6 and has added a plethora of brand new optimizations to ensure that you guys are getting the very best FPS and hopefully the best FPS you've ever got. So this video is going to be here to help you guys achieve the very best gameplay experience regardless of the system specs in which you're running on, whether it's an ultra old potato end laptop all the way up to the latest and greatest in gaming hardware for desktop and anything in between. This video is going to be helping you guys achieve the very best FPS possible, helping you remove any stuttering you might be experiencing, alongside reducing input lag heavily to ensure that you guys have a much snappier and responsive feeling game. So if you guys do enjoy this video and are happy with the results, please leave a like on the videos, it helps me out tremendously, alongside leaving your results, questions, queries or suggestions for other content you'd like to see come to the channel in that comment section down below, as it is always fantastic to hear from you guys. And if you guys do enjoy my content, please do consider pressing the subscription button alongside the bell notification to be notified instantly whenever a video goes live on the channel. To kick things off, I'm going to be quickly recommending you guys actually update to the latest version of Windows 10. Windows updates are completely free and easy to get hold of, and I'll show you guys how to update Windows 10 now, offering a plethora of new gaming optimizations, tweaks and fixes to the operating system themselves, so we no longer have to go in with more intrusive methods to optimize settings within inside of the operating system. They're done by default, and Windows does a lot better of a job of automatically setting up your settings correctly, and there's also a few more settings within inside of there in which we can actually enable with the latest version of Windows 10, which you cannot enable on older versions. Check which version of Windows you're running on to see if there's an update available. Navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows button, type in winver just like so, then click on the winver command, go down to where it says version, and as you can see I'm running on version 1909. If you guys are running on 1909 or older, it is definitely recommended to update to the latest version of Windows. To do this, navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows key again, this time type in Windows space update, then click on the Check for Updates utility. With inside of here, click on the Check for Updates tab. This will refresh Windows and detect all of the updates in which aren't installed currently to your operating system. And as you can see there, the feature update to Windows 10 version 2004 is available for my PC, and I can download and install this. So jumping straight on into the optimizations, first of all what we're going to be doing is applying a quick tweak to the game application itself to help with tabbing in and out of the game and also boosting FPS. To do this optimization, navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows key, and then type in Apex space Legends. Once you guys have found Apex Legends with inside of here, right click on the application and hit open file location. With inside of here, it will more than likely bring you to your desktop apps. That's absolutely fine. We're going to go ahead and right click on Apex again and follow the same steps for open file location. This will then bring you into the Apex Legends installation directory. Once you're inside of this directory folder, scroll down to the R5 Apex application with inside of here, right click on the application, go to properties, then go over to the compatibility tab, ensure that disable full screen optimizations has been checked, go to change our DPI, and then click on override high DPI scaling behavior at the bottom, press OK, apply and OK. Once you guys are done with inside of there, we can then go ahead and exit out of the folder. We can then go ahead and set up our optimized Season 6 launch options for the game. This is very easy to do. Go into the launcher, go over to My Games Library, then go over to the Apex application, click on it once, then go down to this settings icon found here in the bottom right hand side, click on settings, then go over to game properties. With inside of here, we're then going to go over to the right hand side to advanced launch options. With inside of here, go down to the command line arguments, then navigate into the description down below and you'll be finding the launch options to copy and paste. Copy those launch options, paste them inside of this box. We're using Ctrl and V. Now, if you guys do not want to be able to see the FPS in the top right hand side of your game here, like shown on screen, if you do not want to see any of this information whilst you're playing, all you simply need to do is remove this line found here, which is +CL show FPS. Once you've set that number up correctly, we're then good to go. Go down to the save option, click on save, click on the X icon next to the game, and we can then minimize out of the launcher. To further complement our in-game settings, we're actually going to now be installing the brand new optimized Autoexec config for the game, in which you can install to your game, which will run a bunch of different commands within inside of the in-game's console to further boost performance and tweak around some of the graphics settings within inside of the game, in which you can't usually change within inside of the settings menu. Now, you either have to manually generate and create this file yourself, or you can navigate into the description down below where you'll be finding the download link for the autoexec.cfg. Click on one of the download links, you'll be brought to either the Google Drive link or the file dropper link. Click on download this file, put in any code that it asks you to do, make sure that you go ahead and keep this file, or you can manually create the file yourself and you can see the source code for the file in the link below it, which will show you guys completely transparently what's inside this file if you are interested. Otherwise, download the file and you can then go ahead and put it on your desktop. Once the file is on your desktop, we then need to go ahead and install it. To install the Autoexec, we need to navigate to the bottom left hand side, type in Apex Legends just like so, right click on Apex Legends and select open file location. Go over to the application once more, right click again, open file location. With inside of here, first of all, I'm going to be pasting this Autoexec in two locations with inside of here. Drag this over to the side, go ahead and right click on the Autoexec and select copy. We're then going to paste it into the main directory just like so, so click on a blank space, right click, select paste. You will more than likely not have an Autoexec in here already. Once that's then been pasted inside of there, we're then going to be going up to the top, scrolling to the CFG folder, going with inside of here, then pasting that Autoexec in here as well. Once the Autoexec has been placed in both of those folders, the Autoexec has now been set up. If for any reason your game looks strange or you don't wish to have the Autoexec installed anymore, just come back into the folders you've installed it to and simply delete the file. For another effective and quick optimization which we can apply to the game itself to do with its loading times, and can also sometimes improve stuttering as well, we can apply a very quick fix by going to the bottom left hand side, clicking on the Windows key, then typing in optimize. You'll then see the option for defragment and optimize drives. Click on this option. Now with inside of it, Windows will typically run these optimizations to all of your drives around about once every week or so. You can choose to do this for all drives on your PC. This can take a little bit of time if you're running on a hard drive, or you can simply select the drive in which the game is installed to. For me, I'm going to quickly run this on all of my drives. So start off with the first drive you're going to be using. Click on the drive, click on the option to analyze if you have the option to analyze, otherwise just go over to optimize. Click on optimize, you'll then get a current status back and any fixes will be applied if they need to be fixed. Then just simply go down this list, go through all of the other drives, the ones in which you can analyze, click on analyze, then go over to optimize on the right hand side. Once you've completed those optimizations, take yourself down to the close option. You can then apply a very quick optimization to any Discord users out there. Regardless of your system specs, you should look into applying this optimization. To do this, we're going to be navigating down inside of Discord, opening up Discord, navigating to the bottom left hand side to our user settings cog, clicking on user settings, first of all starting off by going over to overlay with inside of here. For the best FPS possible, it's incredibly important to make sure that enable in-game overlay for Discord is actually unchecked, so it's turned off. Now for those of you running on sort of medium end to higher end systems, navigate to the bottom left hand side and go to the appearance tab, then scroll all the way down to the advanced section, looking for the option titled hardware acceleration. Go over to hardware acceleration and ensure that the flicker switch is turned to the off position like mine is, switch it off, hardware acceleration will then be disabled with inside of Discord, as this stops Discord from being able to use your graphics card to accelerate Discord, which most capable PCs do not need. This can cause drastic slowdowns, can cause stuttering issues, and take away from some FPS in some cases by around about 1 to 5%. We can then apply a couple of very effective mouse tweaks to Windows itself to not only boost FPS, but also build higher aim consistency, helping you build muscle memory and even improving at the game. For this, first of all, what we're going to be doing is ensuring that our Windows mouse settings are completely in check. So navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows button, type in mouse space settings just like so, click on mouse settings. With inside of it, navigate to the top right hand side to additional mouse options, go to mouse pointer options, then make sure that the option for enhanced pointer precision is actually unchecked like mine is, go down and press apply, and press OK. We can then exit out of the mouse settings. For the next step, what we need to go ahead and do is see if there's any mouse software available for our mouse, or if we already have mouse software installed to our PC. For this, simply flip over your mouse, look at the make and model of the mouse, Google the make and model, see if there's any software available for your mouse, and ensure that you download that software. As long as you're on a somewhat known brand name mouse, you're more than likely going to have software available for it, and this is incredibly important to go into this software and optimize it correctly for the best setting. With inside of here, nearly all mouse software looks different from one another, but the option that we're going to be looking for is going to be called something like USB polling rate, mouse refresh rate, or mouse hertz. With inside of here, you'll more than likely have options from 125 to 500, and in some cases up to 1000. If you guys do have 1000 hertz available on your mouse, it's actually recommended not to use this and to actually use 500 hertz. The reason for this being is that this number found here, the USB polling rate, is how many times the mouse and USB bus communicate to each other within a second. This being set to 1000 hertz whilst playing a demanding game such as Apex can actually put a higher stress on your CPU, which is actually running the USB bus, and will typically result in you having a fluctuation in your mouse refresh rate. So typically if you set this to 1000, you'll be running anywhere from around about 600 to 1000 and anywhere in between at different moments, causing infrequent mouse response rates and an overall higher CPU usage. So it's recommended for most people watching to go with 500 hertz. If you guys are running on a lower end PC, go with 250, and if you guys are running on a potato PC or laptop, go with 125. To make sure that you go down and press apply on those, we can then exit out and continue on. We can then apply some very quick system maintenance to Windows itself to free up excess space on our C drive, helping reduce stuttering, boost loading times, and in some cases even freeing up enough space so you can actually install Apex to your C drive, which could be an SSD in some people's cases, which can drastically improve FPS as well. To do this, navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows option, we're then going to type in %temp% just like so, then press enter. You'll then be brought into the Windows temporary folder, and this is basically the ultimate dump folder within inside of Windows for all Windows files and applications. Windows doesn't automatically clean out this folder, so depending on the age of your Windows installation, this folder can sometimes be in excess of 80 plus gigabytes. Highlight all the way from the top to the bottom, select all files and folders, right click, then select the option for delete. You'll then be met with this prompt, go to do this for all current items, then hit skip. Once you guys are done with inside of there, you'll then be left with the only files and folders Windows was actually using. Everything else was an excess caching file, dump file, and wasn't being used and simply taking up space. This now leads us onto a very effective optimization for almost all PCs, and it's definitely worthwhile trying out this optimization, seeing how you get along, and seeing if you get any decent games from it. For this optimization, we're actually going to be optimizing our Windows power plan. It's very simple, easy, and safe to do. CPU. To do this, what we need to do is navigate into the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows key, type in power space plan just like so, click on edit power plan, then within of it go up to the power options mode found here at the top, then go down to show additional power plans, click on the drop down menu, and we're going to be looking for the ultimate performance power plan. This is only for Intel users. If you guys are running on a Ryzen based CPU, and it's recommended to select the AMD Ryzen high performance power plan, as that will be giving you guys the best FPS on Ryzen. For any of you out there who are running on an Intel based system like I am, it's a secret power plan within inside of Windows which can be enabled to put gaming applications and other heavy workloads at a much higher priority, delivering more resources towards them and helping maintain a decent steady FPS. To do this, what we're going to be doing is simply navigating to the description down below and finding the small line of code in which you can copy and paste, which is titled Ultimate Performance Power Plan. This line of code should look something like this. It should say powercfg duplicate scheme, and what we're then going to simply go ahead and do in the description down below is simply copy all of this command, exit out, navigate to the bottom left hand side, click on the Windows key, type in CMD, go over to the command prompt, ensure that you run command prompt as an administrator, press Ctrl and V on your keyboard to paste that command, make sure it looks just like that, then go ahead and press enter. You'll then be met with the Power Scheme GUID Ultimate Performance Power Plan, and we're then good to go. Go ahead to the exit screen, bring back up the power options in which you minimized out of earlier, go up to the top to the refresh button, click on refresh, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you should now be seeing the Ultimate Performance Power Plan within inside of here. To enable and select this power plan, go over to the selectable icon next to it, check the box, and we're then good to go. We can then apply a small quick optimization to the Windows appearance to further boost FPS slightly. For this, we're going to be navigating to the bottom left hand side, clicking on the Windows key, typing in this PC just like so, right clicking on this PC and going to properties. With inside of here, navigate over to the left hand side to advanced system settings, go over to the advanced tab, go down to performance, click on settings. Then with inside of here, we're going to be changing this to adjust for best performance under visual effects. Once that's then been done, go down to the bottom right hand side, press apply. You'll then see that the appearance of Windows has slightly changed and some of the fancy animation features have been disabled. Now, for any reason after this video, if you do not like these changes and you want the old fancier style of Windows back, that's absolutely fine. Just come back with inside of this option and then reselect the adjust for best appearance tab. But for the best FPS, we're going to be going with best performance, pressing apply, pressing OK. This now leads us on to the closing optimizations for this video. And for these optimizations, we're going to be optimizing the GPU or graphics card on your PC to ensure that you're getting the best FPS possible with this setting. So for now, we need to ensure that you guys are running on the latest GPU drivers. This is incredibly important to do even if you are hesitant to do it. GPU drivers are free and easy to get from any GPU manufacturer regardless of the age, make or model, and with the latest version of Windows 10 in which you should be running on, running the latest GPU drivers is essential to unlock some of the features within inside of Windows, as without the latest version of Windows and the latest GPU drivers you cannot enable these settings. So to update your GPU drivers, it's very simple and easy to do. We first of all need to see which GPU manufacturer, make or model you have. Easiest way of doing this is to go into your desktop, right click, and you'll either be seeing the NVIDIA control panel or the AMD Radeon settings panel. If you guys are just seeing Intel with inside of here, you can simply skip out this step as you're running on NVIDIA or AMD Radeon. Go into the description down below, click on the corresponding link for your GPU. So to start off with the GPU settings, first of all we need to optimize our GPU control panels, and this is very easy and simple to do. Right click on your desktop, open up the NVIDIA control panel, and for AMD users, go to the timestamp on screen now to go to your settings. For NVIDIA users, first of all we need to go up to the just image settings with preview, click on the middle option with inside of here. Once that's then been checked, go down to apply. Navigate over to the left hand side to manage 3D settings, starting off with image sharpening. Image sharpening, we're going to be enabling this, setting it to around about 0.30 and ignore film grain to around about 0.17. Ensure that GPU scaling is not selected, then press OK. Ambient occlusion should be switched to off, anisotropic filtering off, anti-aliasing FXAA off, DSR factors should definitely be switched to off, low latency mode can be switched to on or ultra. I personally prefer to have on as this will slightly boost your FPS and decrease input lag. Maximum frame rate we're going to be switching off, multi-frame sampled AA off, OpenGL rendering GPU, go into the drop down menu for this setting and set this to your graphics card. Power management mode should be switched to prefer maximum performance, preferred refresh rate should be set to highest available unless you're using a G-Sync monitor and wish to still use G-Sync. Shader cache should be switched to on, texture filtering anisotropic sample optimizations on, texture filtering negative LOD bias allowed, texture filtering quality should be set to high performance, trilinear optimizations on, threaded optimizations should be switched to auto, triple buffering off, vertical sync off, virtual reality pre-rendered frames 1, and we're then good to go. Navigate to the bottom right hand side and apply those settings. We can then navigate over to the left hand side to adjust desktop size and position. Now for any of you guys who aren't running on custom resolutions or lower resolutions than your monitor's native resolution, you should have this set to no scaling. But for any of you who are running on custom resolutions or lower end resolutions, set this to full screen. Once that's then been done, once again press apply and we're then good to go. If you're running on AMD Radeon based systems, you need to navigate to your desktop, right click and open up into the AMD Radeon software panel. Once inside of the software panel, navigate over to the gaming tab in the top left hand side, then navigate down to global graphics. Once inside of here, first of all we're going to be going down to Radeon Radeon Anti-Lag. Now this option can reduce your FPS by around about 1 or 2%, but it will overall drastically reduce the input lag you're experiencing, so it's definitely recommended to have this turned on. Radeon Chill, I'd recommend keeping this disabled unless you're running on a laptop or a desktop which suffers from overheating issues. Then navigating down to Radeon Image Sharpening, I'd recommend turning this to the on position and setting the sharpness somewhere between around about 20 to 70%, depending on your personal preference. For me personally, I like to set it to around about 30 to 40. Radeon Enhanced Sync, you can enable this if you wish to do so. This can improve the experience for some of you, but for me I like to keep this disabled. Wait for vertical refresh is set to always off. And to finalize with the optimizations themselves before booting into the game, we're going to be navigating to the bottom left hand side, clicking on the Windows key, typing in GPU settings, with inside of it going to the graphics settings tab. We can then go ahead and navigate to the top left hand side, and if you do have the option for GPU hardware acceleration with inside of here, make sure that you do go ahead to that flicker switch and turn this to the on position. This setting allows your graphics card to manage its own GPU memory on board of it, rather than having to run through Windows as a third party, which can introduce latency issues and reduce FPS. Having this switch to the on position allows the GPU to independently manage its memory pool and provide you with a lot better FPS and lower latency. We can then apply an optimization to this regardless if that setting is available to you or not by navigating down to Browse. With inside of this page, we then need to navigate into the installation directory of Apex Legends. If you do know where your game is installed to, navigate to that folder manually. Otherwise, we can go over to where it says this PC on the left hand side. We can then go to the top right hand side to search this PC and search for r5apex.exe like so. Once you guys have found the application, go ahead and select R5 Apex, press add, go down to the options menu and ensure that high performance has been set, press save, exit out, and we're good to go. Before doing this, I'm going to be giving you guys a very quick optimization for you guys running on a laptop. To do this, it's recommended to have a HDMI plugged into the laptop or whichever display out you have available in the laptop, have it plugged into an external monitor. Then what you'll simply do is follow the on-screen directions found here to disable the laptop screen, so the laptop screen is completely blacked out and the laptop is then completely displayed on a second monitor. You will find that you will be getting better FPS using this step on almost every single laptop out there. One last thing to do now before we go ahead and boot the game to finalize our in-game settings and apply our config tweak is to navigate into the bottom right hand side, click on the task icon tray and start closing out of all unnecessary programs you no longer need open to ensure that you guys get the best FPS whilst playing. This now leads us on to one of the most important optimizations within inside of this entire video. For this optimization, we're going to be navigating into the description down below and clicking on the Intelligent Standby List Cleaner link. It will bring you to this web page found here. Scroll all the way down to the bottom to the official download, select the official download and download the file and place it onto your desktop. Once the file is on your desktop, simply run the 7-zip extractor, press extract, you'll then be given a folder in your desktop with the ISLC. Double click, and you'll then be brought into the Intelligent Standby List Cleaner program. This is a 2-in-1 optimization program. The first part of the program helps keep a reserved pool of RAM in the background to make sure that you're not choking out your system and starving it of resources. And second of all, it has the timer resolution program built with inside of it, which I've recommended for years. The timer resolution program helps reduce latency between the operating system, game application, and the hardware you have installed to your PC to drastically reduce input lag and boost FPS. This program is 100% recommended regardless of your system specs, and I'm going to show you guys how to set it up now. To set up the program, double click on the exe, press yes. The program will then open up. To set the program up, for the first box, you're going to be setting this to 1024. For the second box, you roughly need to half the number found up here in the top for the total system memory. For me, I have 32,000 megabytes, so I'm going to roughly half that, which is 16,000. So half your number, go to the right hand side to enable custom timer resolution, go inside of this box and set the value to 0.50, then use the delete key to remove the other values, then go down to ISLC polling rate, set this to 500 for good PCs, and lower end PCs set to 1000. Once you guys have done that, navigate over to the right hand side, select start, click purge standby list, minimize the program, and we're good to go. It's recommended to have that program running in the background every single time you play the game for the best performance. This finally leads us on to the game settings and config optimizations themselves. To do this, we're simply going to be booting into the game, navigate to the bottom right hand side to the settings icon, click on the game menu, click on the settings tab. We can then go ahead over to the video tab. First of all, what we need to do is finalize our in-game video options to tailor them towards the best FPS and your desired visual fidelity. After setting up all of these settings, we're then going to go into the config of these settings and apply a few more tweaks to ensure that we get the best FPS. So to start off, make sure that you go over to display mode, set this to whichever you wish to do so, but for the best FPS and response times, full screen will give you the best results. Go down to your resolution options, and it's recommended to keep this at your native resolution. Otherwise, if you guys really want the best FPS and don't mind how the game looks, you could bump this down by around about 1 or 2 settings. So for me, actually running at 1920 by 1080 can drastically improve my FPS inside of this game by around about 50+%. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be keeping mine at the top resolution, and you can see some recommended resolutions on the right hand side of the screen now. Sprint view shake should be set to minimal. VSync should be switched to disabled. We then need to go down to our anti-aliasing option. It is recommended to switch the anti-aliasing option to TSAA, and the reason we're going to be doing this is we're actually going to be modifying the adaptive resolution FPS target found here. With inside of here, make sure that adaptive super sampling is actually disabled. Set the adaptive resolution FPS target for now to 100, but we can modify this value with inside of our config. Go down to texture streaming budget and set this to match the amount of VRAM in your graphics card. If you're not sure how much VRAM is on your GPU, set this to medium, otherwise match it to your GPU VRAM. We can then go down to texture filtering. I like to set this up to anisotropic 8 times. Ambient occlusion quality should be set to disabled. Sun shadow coverage should be switched to low. Sun shadow detail low. Spot shadow detail should be disabled. Volumetric lighting can be enabled if you wish to do so, but for the best FPS, switch this to disabled. Dynamic spot shadows disabled. Model detail should be set to medium or high if you really want to keep a high visual fidelity. Effects detail should be switched to low. Impact marks should be disabled. Ragdolls should be switched to low. And we're then good to go. Go ahead and apply those settings by going to the bottom left hand side. What we now need to go ahead and do, assuming that we've now finalized our in-game settings, is to actually further tweak those settings using our config, in which we can't actually set with inside of the game itself. This is incredibly easy and most importantly, safe to do. So for this, what we're going to go ahead and do is simply exit out of the game to the desktop. We then need to navigate into where our in-game settings are actually stored. For this, I recommend going to the bottom left hand side, clicking on Windows, then going up to the Documents tab and clicking on Documents. With inside of here, we're then going to go over to this PC, go into your local disk C drive, go down to Users, click on the user in which you're currently using on your PC, then go into the Saved Games folder found here. Double click, go inside of the Respawn folder, go inside of Apex, then go into Local. With inside of here, we're then going to be interested in going down to the Video Config tab found here. Open up the text file. We then need to apply a few quick changes with inside of here for the best FPS. To start off with inside of here, we're going to be going to CL Particle Fallback Base and changing this value to 2, changing the Particle Fallback Multiplier to 1, going down to Shadow Depth Dimin Min to 0, Shadow Depth Upres Factor Max should be set to 0. I would recommend keeping Shadow Max Dynamic also set to 0. SSAO Enabled should be set to 0. And then these are the most important settings with inside of this entire optimization. These settings found here. DVS Enable should be switched to 1, then GPU Frame Time Min and GPU Frame Time Max should be set accordingly to the values on the right hand side of the screen. This is the value in which we set up with inside of the game earlier, which is our adaptive resolution target. You have to be using TSAA anti-aliasing to get this option with inside of the game, so make sure that you have already got that set like we did earlier. Then with inside of here, you need to go to the right hand side now, matching these values to the overall desired FPS you want as a minimum. So for me, I never want my game to be dropping below 170 FPS, so I'm going to be setting my values to match 170 FPS. So this setting basically keeps the game running at your native resolution as long as it possibly can, and when you get into hectic moments and crazy gunfights which will traditionally drop your FPS drastically, this will allow the game to dynamically render the game down without you even noticing it to a lower resolution whilst you're playing to keep your FPS as consistent and as high as possible. Choose the value in which you can achieve FPS wise with inside of the game, but never really want to drop below. So for me, that's going to be 170, so I'm going to be putting in my values, which is going to be 3,800 on the minimum and 5,800 on the maximum. I don't recommend coming down to CSM enabled, switching this to 0, CSM coverage to 0, and CSM cascade res, I'd recommend switching down to around about 256. Once you guys are done with inside of there, go ahead and press the File Save option. We can then go ahead and exit out of the config, and it's incredibly important before going ahead and booting into the game to actually right click on this config, go down to Properties, and ensure that Read Only has been selected. This stops the game from being able to automatically set those settings back to the defaults every single time the game is booted, so we can force these settings with inside of the game for a better experience. Do bear in mind though, if the game looks too blurry or you want to change any of those settings for a higher or lower FPS limit, or change your settings with inside of the game itself, you will need to come back with inside of here, disable read only, but for now, assuming that we've locked in our settings and we want to keep those settings, we're going to go right click, Properties, Read Only, Apply and OK. And all there is left to do now is to simply boot into the game and enjoy the highly optimized experience. Now do bear in mind when you do boot into the game, if you're using an adaptive resolution target, when you first jump out of the plane, the game is going to look very blurry and not very nice to look at. This is because this is where you're getting the lowest FPS with inside of the match, so the game is drastically bringing down your rendering resolution to compensate for that. Once you land and start playing, you'll notice the game looks a lot nicer, and it will only start looking slightly more blurrier when you're getting into hectic moments with inside of crazy populated parts of the map in very rare instances. And there you guys have it. That is my ultimate FPS increase guide for Apex Season 6. This guide has seen many major overhauls with inside of this compared to my other videos, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed the results. And if you guys do enjoy my content and wish to stay up to date with the channel, please do consider pressing the subscription button alongside the bell notification to be notified instantly of whenever a video goes live on my channel. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Panjano, and I'll see you in the next one.